Good evening, YouTube. This is Tire Metalhead Weatherman. I hope you guys are doing all right today. It's been a hot one for a lot of us, I'm sure, but we're finally towards the end of the peak heat hours of the day, especially towards the eastern half of the country. Western half, you still got a little ways to go, and I'm rooting for you. Got a bit to talk about with the weather tonight, and also kind of want to rehash a little bit of what happened last night. Absolutely crazy event. We actually had a very rare instance where we had not one but two derechos almost go through the Ohio Valley about at the same time. Not to mention the amount of wind reports that we got yesterday. That was insane. I haven't heard of anything like that in a minute. So let's actually take a look at the storm reports yesterday. These are unfiltered reports right now, and these are still preliminary. There is so much for these the survey members of the National Weather Service to go through. I kind of feel bad for them. I mean, we have reports scattered all around the country. We have some in the plains. We have some in the western half of the country. We even have a tornado report on the coast of Virginia. It looks like Virginia and South Carolina. It's right on the border, and it's right off the coast. It's apparently a waterspout report. But look at this number right here is what I want you to take really good heed of. 542 wind reports. That's insane. And as you can see, a lot of them are in the Ohio Valley. This is where we had one derecho right here, and you can see it based off the cluster of wind reports right here. It's absolutely insane. We got 14 of these reports that were also significant. Winds were greater than 65 knots. And then we had a second one that kind of went through the southern part of Ohio here, and then even worked its way into West Virginia and the western parts of Virginia itself. Fortunately, things have died down since then, and that storm system is just about out of here at this point. But lo and behold, we have yet another threat today, which we are going to talk about now, and then we are also going to cover the enhanced risk for tomorrow, too, as well as the slight risk Thursday. So if we look here now, we can see that we have 3 slight risk areas. This one got issued earlier today, and there was a pretty big severe thunderstorm watch that covered almost all of Georgia, stretched into Alabama, and now it's working its way towards Florida. This is another MCS that caused that water spout. It's actually going in an odd direction, and it's pushing these storms to the south and west. Normally we will get storms to the south and that'll form to the south and east or the north and west, but this is a pretty odd angle. So be on the lookout, especially towards the panhandle of Florida. You have some nasty thunderstorms coming your way, a pretty strong line. It is prompting some severe thunderstorm warnings right now. It's highlighted right here in this little yellow area that you can see here, amidst all the severe thunderstorm watch areas and heat advisories. And then we have our second slight risk area here towards northern Minnesota and parts of North Dakota. There is a severe thunderstorm warning in northern Minnesota right now. Nothing really going on towards the Dakotas right now, but we do see some areas of development beginning to brew here, so we'll have to watch that as time goes on. And then our main area of interest right here towards the north central plains, we have Nebraska and Iowa mainly in play. This includes the cities of Omaha, Des Moines, Lincoln. All of you guys are in play for this. And then we do have little slivers of Minnesota and South Dakota in play here. We'll go over these hazards real quick, and then we'll go over the next couple of days. So we still got Columbus, I think, is just about out of this now. But we still got Dothan, Alabama, and Tallahassee, Jackson, Brunswick, Georgia. Well, actually, I think Brunswick's clear now, too, maybe. Wait, no, it's not. Savannah, I think you're about done now, too. And then we have to watch. Then we're still gonna have to watch towards Grand Forks and Fargo for a little bit of isolated severe weather. But pretty much from south central Nebraska all the way into the Minnesota and Wisconsin line, we're going to have to watch this area extremely closely because I think this is where the main event really is. Tornado threat's pretty minimal. Very small, maybe localized area where you have a chance of a spin up. And it's really just in these two regions. The threat around the south is going to mainly just be damaging straight line winds. You don't really have the parameters needed for any sort of major tornadic activity. We can't rule it out though. So let's look at the wind, and this is where business picks up for the southeast. No surprises there. And then actually, it's a very localized area of damaging straight line winds around our slight risk area even. You would expect it to be a little bit bigger, but so it seems the ingredients are there, but not as quantitative as the storm system yesterday per se. Then when we look towards the hail report is when business picks up towards the north central plains. And this is also going to be a precursor to what happens tomorrow. In case I didn't mention it, the brown area is our marginal risk area. It's a 5% area. And then the yellow area is our 15%. Let's go to day 2. And this is when business really starts to pick up. And oh, this is a new change. We now have a slight risk area that's popped up around the southeast, and it even includes my area here in Atlanta. Isn't that something? So we'll have to be watching that now too. But my main concern has been this area, and this has also had a few changes made to it as well. We have a marginal risk that stretches all the way through central Kansas here, and it stretches all the way to the U.S.-Canadian border and the Great Lakes. In the marginal areas like Chicago, Peoria, Hannibal, you guys aren't excluded from severe weather. I'd also say Jefferson and Kansas City, you guys are also in play. Des Moines, I think your threat's going to be earlier than everyone else, and the threat's going to be lower. And then even Minneapolis, we're going to have to watch you closely. Business picks up though once you get towards areas like Marquette, Michigan, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're going to have to be watching you very closely. And then our greatest area of interest looks like pretty much from La Crosse to Green Bay, the area is just south of Marquette. What we have going here is pretty much all the hazards are possible, and in significant quantities as well. We pretty much have an enhanced risk for a tornado threat as well as significant tornadoes. We have a 10% risk and a hatched risk at that. So in these areas, right? So in the areas within the 10%, which is Green Bay, La Crosse, and areas just north of Milwaukee, you guys are going to have to be extremely careful tomorrow. Because not only is the tornado threat elevated, wind threat is as well. We got a 30% chance of damaging straight line winds in this area as well. Then we look towards the hail threat. That's also got a hatched risk on it, and it's also a 30%. I think at this point there's pretty much just an equal chance for everything to happen. So we'll have to watch you guys real close. Let's move to the southeast. Tornado threat is pretty much non-existent there. Still might have to watch for a crazy spin up. That's never out the question, but I really don't think the parameters come together there. Our wind threat is where we have a little bit more interest, and our hail threat as well. And our slight risk for wind is a little bit further to the west. We're even including pretty much almost all of central Birmingham, even stretching into Mississippi here. Then the hail threat seems to be greatest around south central Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and into most of Georgia, including the Atlanta area. Columbus, you guys are in there too. Macon. So let's take a look at that we've taken a look at that. Now let's move to day 3, where we don't have the hazard types, but we do know the area. We do now know the area of interest. And this is back towards the Ohio Valley and working its way to the northeast. We have storms possible towards Columbus and Cleveland, stretches its way into Pittsburgh, And then we can also say that there's a risk for Buffalo, Rochester, Watertown, and maybe on the edge of this slight risk we have Binghamton or Binghamton, or I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, just let me know in the comments. But we also have in the marginal risk, these guys aren't excluded. We have Scranton, Pennsylvania. We have Roanoke, Virginia. West Virginia, we have Charleston, Cincinnati, Springfield. You guys aren't out of this either. And then the good sliver of eastern Kentucky as well. I guess the appendage, maybe you would call it a panhandle. I wouldn't necessarily, but the appendage part of North Carolina towards the western half, you guys are also in play. And then this also stretches into eastern Tennessee. Have to watch you guys real close. Then we also have a secondary marginal risk that's popped up around the Central Plains. Lincoln, you guys are just barely involved in this right now. And then we have parts of northern Kansas and southern Nebraska involved as well. So enough about that. Let's see what the radar looks like. Okay. Taking a look at the time here. Trying to keep this under 20 minutes because I know this has been a lot to talk about here. Okay, so going to the NAM this time. We're not using the HRRR today. This would take too long to wait for a 48-hour run. And here we are looking at our storm system for tonight. Here's our upper level low that's causing the storms towards northern Minneapolis and North Dakota. It's going to quickly move off to the north and go into Canada and cause a lot of trouble there. Our storms are starting to dissipate here in Florida and Georgia into the late evening and overnight hours. But like I said, our main event isn't going to be expected until the overnight hours. Another big line of thunderstorms, potentially another derecho. I'm not too confident about it. You can never really tell with these things either. But we look over to Wednesday, and then it's pretty much the same thing as today as far as our severe threat for the southeast. It's this really odd directioned MCS that pops up early in the morning and then works its way to the southwest, and then areas around the Carolinas, Georgia, and into Alabama and Mississippi are involved in that. All while in the meanwhile we have a big line of storms that pops up. All in the meanwhile we have a couple of isolated cells that pop up early in the afternoon around Wisconsin, and then this consolidates into a line. This has almost a quasi-linear type look to it, I would say. And then this consolidates into a line of just straight up damaging winds from the looks of it. This thing wants to freeze up on me. This is going to be that kind of video, it looks like. Alright, but this quickly moves out, and then this line of storms works its way towards our slight risk area for Thursday. Brings in some more severe weather, mostly going to be a damaging wind threat, but it's going to be a little bit more isolated, a lot less widespread in nature. And this is going to leave an outflow boundary where new storms will form later into the afternoon, and this will be out as quickly as it comes in. Though this line of storms, I expect it to be moving pretty fast. So by the overnight hours, we should be clear here, and then we can go into Friday, where so far we have no slight risk issued. Now that we've looked at that, let's take a look at some other parameters here. We're going to take a look at the low-level jet here at 850 millibars. Kind of get an idea of what we could have in store for tomorrow in particular. Okay, so we're moving here. And you can kind of see You can kind of see the energy starting to move into place here, so to speak. It's not going to be robust in nature, not until the late night hours, but we do get a little spike around southern Wisconsin, and that's going to be the area of greatest interest for tornadoes. Ooh, wow. We get a pretty big spike late into the evening hours. I think I saw a reading of almost 70 knots. That's a low-level jet maxed out. I'm almost certain that that's what made the SPC call for a 10% chance of tornadoes and a significant tornado threat. That low-level jet is screaming. And this even moves its way into Marquette, but we do lose a little bit of that energy as we get into the overnight hours. Storms won't have the same kind of oomph, but we will have to also watch as this moves along Thursday. And there's also going to be a lot of energy behind it, so it's going to be windy for at least a few hours after these storms come through in the northeast here. And then by Friday, it's just going to be absolutely crazy as far as wind is concerned around the Ohio Valley and Northeast, at least in the early part of the day. Now that we looked at that, why don't we just take a look at some Cape values? Why not? We're going to take a look at surface-based Cape. Going to try to make sure we crossed our T's and dotted our I's as far as the tornado threat tomorrow. So we have some pretty high Cape values for tonight even. But and there's probably going to be a few storms that pop up here. Meanwhile, in the southeast, I expect some pretty high Cape as well. In fact, look at these numbers. We're hitting towards 4,000, 5,000 joules here. There's no surprise as to why they have the slight risk issued here as well. So once we get into the evening hours around Wisconsin, business really picks up. We're getting towards the 3,000, 4,000 joule mark. Perfect Cape values for a line of thunderstorms. And with that low-level jet, I would be almost expecting a chance of some embedded supercells and Qlcs tornadoes. And then as we go into Thursday, these Cape values kind of die off, but not very much. It looks like we're still hitting that 3,000, 4,000 plus mark, even some 5,000s here and there. Just so much energy in the atmosphere. And by Friday, things have changed around this area. Things have calmed down finally, but we'll have to watch this area for more thunderstorms, maybe even a possible slight risk. But that's pretty much all I got here on this video. A lot of ground covered here. Hopefully we've kept this under 20 minutes. Looks like we have. Especially tomorrow, especially if you live in Wisconsin and maybe even towards Marquette. Definitely be careful. It looks like there's going to be some pretty nasty weather. Pretty much everything's on the table. So stay prepared, stay ready, be prepared. And even for the night storms, if you're in Nebraska and Iowa in particular, just kind of be ready. These storms are probably going to be hitting overnight from the looks of it. So have a way to get your warnings and have a plan and be prepared. But this is all I got. This has been Tire Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good night, and I hope to see you in the next video.